Find the right mentor. Focus on you building you. Don't hate others. Learn from others.
Starting from the bottom is not a deficit, it's a gift. Starting from the bottom is actually a gift because you get to work yourself to the top.
Don't be rude, be bold. Yep. How do you create boldness? By experience.
Don't compare yourself to somebody else, somebody that's on their level 10 when you're starting on your level 1. Exactly. So, hey man, compare yourself to yourself last month. Compare yourself to yourself yesterday.
You can't change the past, but you can create a future. You have to be able to build yourself from within.
To me, at the end of the day, the name of the game is leverage. True freedom comes from leverage. What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Driven Not Given podcast. And man, you guys owe me lunch, man, because I'm bringing you guys some powerhouse leaders, entrepreneurs, and today's no exception. I'm here with a good friend of mine who's been crushing it for a long, long time in business. We ran into each other a couple of years ago at an event that we were both at, and he says, hey man, you remind me of myself a couple of years ago and stuff, and we just kept in touch. And now we're here in his beautiful home. I want to pick his brain about what he's done to get to the place that he's at. If you see his house and you see his car and stuff, you see his lifestyle, man, is definitely something that screams like, hey, show me what you're doing. So with that being said, I've got my good friend, Mr. Chris De Leon. What's up, my brother?
Hey. Good to see you. JC, likewise, man. Thank you for coming.
Hey, man. Thank you, bro. Thanks,
for that lovely introduction.
Hey, no problem, brother. Thank you for having us here in your house, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like they say, mi casa, su casa, you know?
Gracias, man. This is definitely an entertainer's house, bro.
Yeah, I've made it.
It can be.
It could be. Yeah. With everything that I've done to it, it's going to get to that point where we're going to be entertaining a lot of people over here.
Nice. You know, well, make sure you invite me, man.
Yeah, absolutely, of course.
Yeah, we got some business ventures that we're working on, you and I, and but jumping right into this, I always am very curious when I see somebody that has achieved some big things the way that you have, right? You've got multiple business, you've got a beautiful family, beautiful home, and whatnot, and you've got your things in a lot of areas, right? You just bought $1.2 million worth of properties this morning, or something like that, you said?
Yeah, I'm actually working on a third property as we speak. So
Nice.
Yeah, in Inglewood. So that's going to put me like maybe right around 1.8, 1.9.
Nice.
You know, so
let's go back to where it started, bro. Because I'm going to get into the business side of things, but tell me a little bit about where you grew up and how that impacted the man that you are today.
Well, yes, I grew up in the city of Inglewood. Obviously, I was born in Guatemala, but came here at a young age. Lived in LA, and then from there didn't live there too long, and we ended up in Inglewood for about 18 years, next door to a liquor store. It was a 1 bedroom, 1 bath, and I didn't have my own bedroom. I slept on a couch for a long time, and I think that's kind of where it all just started, where, hey, you know, whatever I knew at the time was just work. Let's make some money.
Sure.
And it didn't matter if it was picking cans or working at a liquor store or even going to meat markets and trying to be the first one there to get the cardboard, you know. So it started when I was kind of like in the junior high age, you know, where I just said, hey, I can do something. I can bring food to the table, because my parents, you know, they struggled.
Yeah.
You know, and I did what I could, and I had my parents' support. So we used to drive down to Santa Monica alleys to go pick up newspaper or cans and sell whatever we could sell at parks, and you know, little pepino bags or just some tamales or something, whatever it was. We just sell it, tostadas with frijol, and we would completely sell everything, you know, but. I was just kind of like the person that says, here, I'll help. But the actual people that were making all the money was my parents, like my mom or my mom's friends. So after my mom ran out, then I'll go help her. And then I'll just go out there and just go out there and try to sell as much as we can. Wow. So that drive is kind of when it all started. I would see other people, you know, like when I went to high school, I would see people driving cars, and I'm like, how can I buy a car? What can I do? And I just walked to school. It was miles away. And I would even see people would see me walk in, and and they would be in cars and they would wave at me like, hey, you're walking. They're just kind of like poke at me like, you're walking and we're driving. And I would tell myself then, I would say, hey, when I get older, I didn't know what I was going to do or what I was going to be. Sure. But all I know at the time is that I had some kind of belief in myself that I was going to have more cars than them, if not better cars.
Right.
So it was just one of those things where that kind of just, it really resonated in me. Even to this day, I get very, I'm glad I was able to experience that because it just builds more conviction.
Yes.
Why I wake up every day, why I do what I do. And yeah, man, I mean, fast forward 20 years later after high school, I'm here. I live in Rancho Palos Verdes. A lot of people are trying to live up here in the hill. And I think that if I didn't go through that stuff at such a young age, it probably would have taken longer for me to get up here.
Yes.
Because,
or maybe even not at all. Maybe.
Yeah. Because, we are where we are because of the decisions that we make.
Right.
So it doesn't matter if you make a mistake or because we're all learning. We're all human beings. It's normal. Yeah. And eventually, after you build the knowledge and you become much more transparent and much more confident, then, it really doesn't matter what opinions people express about you,
Yes.
And yeah, that's kind of what really got me to this point, because I had to go through those growing pains at a young age, So
you were not raised with a lot similar to me, and I find that a lot of people that have achieved big things in life, the way that you have, that is a very often a common denominator between them. That they grew up without much. In your case, you started working early. I started working early. I used to sell stuff door to door, donuts, chocolates. One time we had Huskies come to the house. Somehow 3 Huskies were in the, not the house, the apartments. And we looked around for the owners. There was no owners. We said, well, shit, I'm going to go door knock and I'm going to sell I ended up selling 3 Huskies for $10 each, bro. I had no idea what Huskies were worth, right? So I sold them fast, bro. And so, but the point is, matter of fact, I went to the UFC gym in Torrance on Monday. I never been to that gym, so I went there. And when I was getting off the freeway, there was this Alpine Village swap meet. Mm-hmm. And I said, oh, snap, I haven't thought about that place in years, bro, over 20 years, because I remember my mom used to go, she put a swap meet stand, and she used to sell just trinkets, just all kinds of stuff. She used to buy stuff at like yard sales or whatever, and then she used to sell them there. And I remember for a period of our life, we used to go there for a few months at least. That was one of the business ventures that she tried. So yes, my upbringing also had a lot to do with the way that I think now.
Right. And it's funny you say that, because I did the swap meet thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to work with an Arabic lady on the weekends. She'll pay me like $30 a day. But I would wake up at the crack of dawn, because we had to set up really early, right? It's really cold. And I was disciplined because my parents wouldn't wake me up to go with her. She lived around the block from where I grew up in Inglewood. And she actually had a younger son, Wael, that was his name. And that's how I kind of learned a little Arabic, because I worked with her for maybe about a year and a half. But I sacrificed my weekends at a young age to do that.
Right. So
as I got older, it didn't matter, that I had to put the work in on the weekends, whether it be work or studying for my licenses. I mean, when I started the multi-level networking business in the late 90s, I had to get my Series 6, my 26, my 63, and my L&D, all while I was working a full-time job, trying to support my mom, because my dad unfortunately had passed away at the age of 41. Wow. So I had to take responsibilities in my own hands, and to go through all the adversity and to go through the friends trying to take you places, you had to make certain decisions. Like, hey, do I stay here on Sunday and watch football with these guys and play dominoes, or am I going to go study? Because I didn't even have a computer at my house. Back then, it was an MS-DOS screen, like one of those screens with the green screen.
Yes.
It's kind of like how the MLS used to be when I first started real estate. Yeah. And I would literally, the only people that had colorful computers was Loyola Marymount.
Yeah.
So I would sneak into the Marymount through the backside and would park my car and just walk inside like I was a student. And I would just sit my butt down on that computer from like 12 or 1 p.m. all the way to like 10.
Wow.
You know, I would be like, no, I got to do this. And I kept doing the practice exams because I wanted to gravitate towards that dream everybody was trying to dream sell me on.
Yeah.
Like, you can have this, you can have that, you know, and at the time it didn't happen, but I'm glad I was able to experience that, because then I was able to catapult from that experience into something that I felt was going to work better. Like they say, you know, the grass is not always green on the other side. Right. Once I got introduced to the mortgage real estate business, that's kind of where I had already went through that education part. And then boom, right away, I took the builder's mentality and say, okay, I'm going to get schooled. And then within a year and a half, I opened up my own office.
Nice. Within a year and a half of starting your real estate business?
Yeah, a year and a half.
Wow, that's fast.
Yeah, I was like, you know what, I can do this, because I was taught 4 years in a multi-networking business that it's all about building. It's all about recruiting. It's all about teaching people. And I didn't have a lot of knowledge in it, but eventually, as I started learning more and I ended up getting my licenses and I started meeting clients, it built a certain level of confidence. Yes. Not where it's at now, obviously, because it's different. It's more experienced. Yes. But yeah, it's all part of the journey, I think, that you have to go through. So
I agree, man. As we're recording this right now, it's February 4th, 2020. We got some news today. 2022, excuse me. I'm 2 years behind. But we got some news today that was very unfortunate news, right? A mentor to many, many people in the personal development space, Bob Proctor, just passed away. You got to meet Bob Proctor. You got to be at some of his events and learn from him. What are some of the things from Bob Proctor, bro, that impacted you the most in life?
You know, Bob Proctor was a really good mentor. You know, he goes back to with Earl Nightingale, Nick Conan, and these guys are old school mentors. You know, they weren't the Rockefellers or the Thomas Edisons or the geniuses, but they were able to. He was able to be part of that group, and he would just built his business from there. So when I first got introduced to Bob Proctor, it wasn't too long ago. It was probably in 2009. I went to a Think and Grow Rich convention in Anaheim, and they had the toppest people there. Greg Reed was there, Sharon Lecter, which is Robert Kiyosaki's publisher, Bob Proctor, Les Brown. And I would look at, and there was a lot more people, but I would look at them, and I paid extra money to go inside the VIP section, because that was the only time you're ever going to meet the speakers that were there. So I said, okay, I'll pay whatever it is, because just being around them attracts. You get exposed to why is it that they're so successful. You would look at Les Brown and you're like, okay, man, this guy's so happy, he's so humble, he's so expressive. Bob Proctor was a little bit more serious, but when he was on stage, he was an animal. Right. He was an animal. So after I met Bob Proctor, I signed up to a few events that I went to in Los Angeles over here at the Marriott, and I would be there three full days till late at night, you know, and luckily it was in LA. I just took advantage of that opportunity versus having to fly anywhere else. Yeah. But, you know, I do remember he was more about the law of gravity and what is it that you can can you gravitate towards success. And you know, and I look at that, like every time I get in my car in the morning and I go to the office, I'm gravitating. Okay, and the gravity works the same for anybody. It works the same for you, for a podcast guy here, or the doctor. It works the same. It's how you interpret it, how you gravitate towards it. And I know that every time I'm going down the hill and I'm going to the office, I'm going towards building my business, building myself, helping clients. You know, so that's one of the biggest things I learned from Bob Proctor, on top of other stuff that I still read about.
Yeah, right. I love when he talks about the conscious mind and the subconscious mind, and that is so incredibly true, man. The conscious mind and the subconscious being infinitely more powerful than the conscious mind. And what people don't realize is that you've got to start thinking about what you're thinking about. Yeah. This is one of the things I learned from Bob Proctor, in addition to other people, right? But when I started to realize, hey, listen, and then when you have different mentors, one mentor tells you something, then you might learn something else from a different mentor, and it connects the dots. The personal development is about connecting the dots. So another mentor told me, hey, listen, a champion has a great day and a great attitude no matter what. That goes to the fact that you got to start thinking about what you're thinking about. That goes to the fact of, hey, having an attitude of gratitude, and you start to attract good things into your life. And so that was something that when I made that switch, and I said, then another mentor, 2003, taught me this from stage. He didn't teach me directly. From stage, he says, we get paid based on the size of the problems that we solve. So stop saying you don't want problems. Quit want what you don't want. You do want problems, because if you want problems, there's money to be made. And the biggest builders and the biggest success stories solve the biggest and the most problems. And I said, so we get paid based on the size of the problems that we solve. Start thinking about what you're thinking about. Then the subconscious mind, I started realizing, then I learned how to unconsciously, eventually you get to the unconscious level where you are on unconscious competence, where you know to be a champion. Shit is going bad, guess what? That's a part of business. Yeah. And guess what? If something's going wrong with my business, and if I spend time dwelling on it, that's still going to be there. It's not going to disappear. So guess what? Let's not put any energy into this. Instead, let's put all the energy into that. And then I realized that the things that back then used to get me down, they don't get me down anymore. It's like, hey, this is a part of the business. And what do we do in the direct sales industry? We duplicate people, and we attract people. We attract people that are like that. Like, the reason why I'm here with you is because I said, this is the kind of man that I want to network with. This is the kind of man that I want to interview, that I want to do business with, because we attract people that are like us.
Yeah. No, you hit it right on the nail, because, you know, you have to expect problems, you know, and if you're not there to challenge yourself to solve them, how do you expect to grow? Right. You can't grow without problems. Right. Like I've closed thousands of mortgages. I've learned so much from every single one of them. I learned what not to do and what to do. Right. I've got clients with 40, 100 units, and I was able to assist them with that. And I remember when they only had 8 units, and now they have a bunch of property. And I see how they're going into retirement, and now they get to retire very comfortably. They don't have to stress about money. Do they have access to cash? With the way the market is and all the equities, they got a ridiculous amount of money to, you know, access to money if they like, you know. But, you know, they live within their means, and I'm glad I was able to go through that, because if I didn't go through those challenges, I probably wouldn't be living where I'm living at, you know, or drive what I drive, or be where I'm at, because it becomes exposure. It becomes the best learning lesson for you on how to discipline yourself with your finances, you know, not over leverage, don't be an expensive failure, you know, and set yourself up for that, because you learn from every crisis. Like when the market crashed in 2008, I'm actually surprised I was able to still sustain my office, my staff, and back then I was into thoroughbred horses. So, you know, I grew up at Hollywood Park, and that's when I used to go over there and pick up cans at a young age. And I always told myself, I'm going to own a horse. Huh. And in 2006, I decided to get involved in the horse racing business, and I bought some horses, because once I opened my office, I started seeing a good amount of money coming in. The only issue there is I wish at that time I would have had a mentor to kind of show me. Yes, did I hire a CPA? Of course. Did I pay a lot of money to the IRS? Of course, because I didn't have a corporation set up. I had a partnership. It's 2 different animals, 2 different setups. So now I have multiple corporations, multiple DBAs, and that's just the way it's structured. Do I plan on opening more corporations in the future? Sure. Why not? Because I've learned the education part of it. So, you know, going back, like, to be able to sustain 2 years worth of because it's not pretty, it's not cheap sustaining a horse, you know, it's pretty expensive, and I had 3 of them. Wow. Plus payroll. So after I reached a certain level where I sold the horses, and some of the homes that I had that I was developing, I ended up short selling them, and I short sold them to people that I know, because now 11 years later or 12 years later, I still do business with those people. Nice. So even though I took a hit I was still able to recoup some money with the short sales, the loans, the refis, or even helping some of their clients.
Right.
You know, so you nurture that part for to recover some of the losses. But overall, like, you know, you still have to kind of see where you're at. That way you can economize your behavior and then figure out what moves. I used to play a lot of chess in high school and in college when I went there for 4 years, junior college in El Camino, and I hung out with some guys. But, you know, you got to know what moves to make. And this is stuff that I had to learn on my own,
Yes.
you know. And as I was going to all the events, that kind of, you know, started learning about the law of attraction, the law of gravitation, all that stuff with Bob Proctor, you know, Greg Reed. All that just played a big role for me to just continue to evolve after that.
Yes.
You know, and even after I closed my office and moved into a smaller office, within a year I was back up to another bigger office. You know, still there for
So
a handful of years.
is that what you would say was one of the reasons why? What are a couple of reasons why you were able to weather that storm and a lot of other people didn't?
You know what I would look at? I would look at not what I had in the bank, okay? Because, you know, I went from here to here, right? And I never focused on how low my bank account was. What I focused on was clients and production. Okay, how much do I have in the pipeline? What do I need to do to close? You know, and then eventually starting getting rid of a lot of old debt. I only had three nice $25,000 debt accounts that I figured, you know what, I'm not going to go to bankruptcy for $75,000.
Right.
I go, even though this might take me 5, 6, 7 years to pay off, I go, dude, I have plenty of time. I mean, I can't change the past, but I know I can change the future. Mm-hmm. So I kept at it. I just kept looking at my production, filling the pipeline, helping my team, and then eventually 7 years later, I paid off everything. Like, I paid off everything that I supposedly was going to go bankruptcy, and it wasn't an easy way out for me. I was like, you know what, I just kept telling them, work with me on the payments. They gave me a payment plan, 0% interest rate. I'll work with you. I didn't want to go to court. I didn't want to ding my credit, you know? Right. So, yeah, you know, I just kept believing in myself at the end of the day.
Nice. Well, that's exciting. And listen, there's a big connection between, again, people that haven't gone through the struggles, right? So whenever tough times comes, they don't know how to handle them. You know, I just made a post on Facebook the other day. It says, starting from the bottom is not a deficit, it's a gift, right? Starting from the bottom is actually a gift because you get to work yourself to the top. It's like the difference between this guy got given $1 million to start investing. This other guy had to earn $1 million. Mm-hmm. The guy that had to earn $1 million, guess what? He's going to do better than this guy because the person that you become by acquiring $1 million is way more valuable than the $1 million itself. Mm-hmm. And so you came from not much, and that's why in the 2008 crash, a lot of people quit the business. Unfortunately, some people even took their lives. I mean, it was very, very sad things that happened. Yeah. Even people that I met, that I knew in the industry, ended up taking their own lives, and it was very, very unfortunate. And one thing I learned a long time ago is money, you could always make more of it. You know what I mean? It isn't like losing a family member. If they chop off my arm, I can never grow that back. But money, we could always make money back, right? What is something that happened in your life, if you could recall, a time, and you might have already addressed it briefly, a time that happened in your life where you were doing well, and then all of a sudden, boom, you got hit, and maybe where life humbled you and how you overcame that?
Man, it's been a roller coaster ride, you know, because I would say that just the fact that I was able to sustain the crisis, and obviously had my mom living in some units that I personally bought, and she didn't have to pay anything, you know. And at the time I had my home, I went a year without making mortgage payments because something dawned at me. I had one of my aunts come to me and she says, "Hey, can you take a look at this modification paperwork for me?" And I said, "Yeah, sure." So she brought it in, and they had lowered their payment from $3,500 to $1,500. So I looked at all the modification paperwork, and I'm like, "Hey, that's the same investor I know." I go, "Shoot." I want to do the same thing too. You know, so first of all, I reassessed my taxes with the LA County Tax Assessor's Office.
Okay.
I pay this much for the house. Now it's worth this much. I had already cashed out $200,000 back then off the house. So I was like, okay, let me see what I can do. I called them up. I said, hey, I want to modify my home. So I send them all my stuff. They're like, dude, you're not in a financial burden. I'm sorry, you're not in a crisis. You know, because I still preserved a certain amount of money for reserves.
Yes, yes.
I mean, obviously now it's a lot different because I don't treat money like it's trash.
Right.
I learn to appreciate it, and then what I do with it is reinvest it, and it appreciates even more because that's just the way I gravitate. So at the time, I went almost a year not knowing if I was going to keep my house, but I knew that by paying my mom's mortgage, you know, God was going to bless me somehow.
Right, right.
So eventually my home got modified. My payment dropped a lot. I reassessed my tax returns. I had a second trust deed. And a year later, I gave my wife the wedding of her dreams in front of a beach. And I was in modification status still. And after we got married, I had a $100,000 second. I received a reconveyance for it. I didn't have to pay for it.
Wow.
Just blessings.
Nice.
Blessings. So I would say that might have been my challenge because I was under somebody else's terms. Whether I was going to continue living in this house or not, it was up to them to see if they were going to, you know, I didn't want to live in the streets. I wouldn't have lived in the streets, but, you know, I always had my income properties. And I always told myself, no, I'd rather pay my mom's house because I want to make sure she's got a roof over her head. So I think, you know, the Lord blesses you in such a huge way if you do good deeds for people, you know, and to me that's fulfilling, and that's kind of where I'm at now. It's I get fulfilled when I help people, when I'm able to bring some kind of value, whether it be spiritually, you know, mindset wise, or even financially, whatever I can do, you know. So yeah, I would say that. I mean, all the other stuff, the business and having to close the office down and work something out with the printing company, it was just part of the process, I would say. I just like, you know, it's part of being an entrepreneur. Yes. Like you got to go through that shit because if you don't, excuse my language, but if you don't go through that stuff, man, how are you going to man up?
That's right. That's right.
And like you said earlier, you just become much more mature. You expect problems. You don't let them get under your skin and throw your character off. You become very bold. You know, Jim Rome talks about that. Don't be rude, be bold. Yep. How do you create boldness? By experience.
That's right.
By one challenge after another. And the only way that happens is by stepping up. You know, when I started the flipping business back in 2011, it was I had taken a few years off because of what happened. But from that point on, it's just, I started doing it again, little by little. And there were little ROIs. Maybe one will be 50,000, some will be 8,000, 12,000. You know, little. To me, I felt that it was little money. To a lot of people, it maybe might be a lot of money. But that has allowed us to get big flips now.
Yes.
150,000 spreads after costs, after rehab, after selling the property. $125,000 spreads. Like to be able to leverage 400, 500 grand in a period of 3 months. If I didn't go through all these little rehabs back then, and from 11 all the way to like 18, I wouldn't have profited, you know, especially before the pandemic.
Yes.
You know, after the pandemic, we even profited more because the market just took off.
Right.
So it's just certain layers of experience that you have to go through, and it's a roller coaster ride.
Yeah, no, it's true. And that experience, you know, we were talking about going to events. Right, in your network marketing days, you used to sell life insurance for a network marketing company. What company was it, by the way, that you...
Back then it was World Marketing Alliance, and eventually it got sold by Hubert Humphrey, and it became World Financial Group.
That's right, WFG, right. Yeah. So you used to go to the conventions,
yes,
right? And you mentioned about the sacrifices you used to make. You guys wouldn't stay on the strip,
no,
right? So tell me about those days where because it's important for people to understand. Yeah. Somebody like you, you've been investing in yourself for a long time. And that's what most unsuccessful people are not willing to do. Most people, I say it all the time, I copy this from Grant Cardone, and he says, most people want more money and they want more time, but they're not willing to invest money or time. You're a perfect example of somebody that's a successful business person, successful with, you know, a beautiful family and a bunch of blessings that you've got. Yeah. But you've been investing in yourself for a long time. So tell me about those days.
I'm going to tell you something that just right now it hits home. Okay. There was an event at the state line. It's before Vegas, right? And it was called a big kickoff. You know, they do a lot of kickoffs in the beginning of the year or the end of the year. And I got invited to go with them, but then I just stayed back and I said, nah, I'm not going to go. I'm going to sit back on this one. Well, I remember pacing in my room knowing that they were going. And I would tell myself, why didn't I go? Why didn't I go learn? You know, why don't I go to this event? Why didn't I go? And I just kept, it was something inside me telling me, you gotta go, you gotta go. Back then I was driving a Ford Thunderbird and I just recently bought some rims for it. So I said, okay, I'm gonna take my car, jump on the freeway and just go. So I ended up going. When I got to State Line, those 4 rims were so big that all the boats were on the brinks of all breaking off.
Wow.
So the tires would have popped out. I would have crashed. Who knows what would have happened. But I got to the destination. And that kind of taught me something like, dude, you did what you had to do to be there. You know, once I got there and I got all this exposure and I started seeing all the CEOs and the field vice chairmen gambling hundreds of dollars on the table, and I'm a pretty good poker player. You know, I play Hold'em, I play Pai Gow poker, 3-card poker, whatever it is. My mom taught me that. So I would look at them and I'm like, how are they spending $500 on a hand? You know? Or whatever it was that they were spending. But it was exposure to me. They had the big fat rings, the $100,000 earner rings, the $250,000 earner rings. And yeah, man, I would say that was probably, aside from all the ones in Vegas, you know, and that I went to, but this one was where I could have lost my life, but I was so eager to get there. I got there safely, and like I said, God protected me, and I was able to go back and swap the rims with the tires like a couple days after, and came back home. They came back home, but it brings great satisfaction to me that I did that. Right. And nobody told, my parents didn't say, go, vete, ve prender. No, my parents will say, hey, you're always dressed nice. And I only owned 2 suits back then, but you never have money. And I'm like, Mom, I'm working on that. I'm working on this, Mom. So the fact that my mom saw everything that I've been able to build before she passed away last year, I'm glad that she was able to take that with her, you know? So it's a lot of things that become such a huge part of your journey, you know? Your journey and the person you become along the way. It's what matters, you know, and the love that you have for people. As you get older, you want to share it, you know, and with your kids, your wife, and everybody that's around you, and you express the fact that they respect you because they follow you and they believe in you. And that's kind of where I'm at. I have so many followers, so many people under my organization, and it's only going to get larger, you know, because that's my dream, for it to get larger. And if I don't bring value to them or belief or inject something that says, hey, you can do it too, how am I doing my part? I wouldn't be able to do it. So yeah, that just kind of, that was one story that I can say I almost risked my life, but
you made it happen.
But I was there to attend it. Even though I didn't make no money at the time, I was there.
Yeah, but here's the deal. Every stud was once a dud. Yeah. And when I barely started network marketing, my first 6 months, I always tell people I made $60. That was on my 5th month. I got a check for $60. So I tell them my first 6 months in the network marketing world, I made an average of $10 per month. But it's not only about the money, it's about the person you're becoming. Just like, for example, I used to do real estate, you know, from like 2003 to 2007, December, right before the crash. Because of the crash, I got back into network marketing. But the point is, when I barely started real estate, I went like more than 6 months without making a dime. That is what most people don't realize, is that, hey, listen, it takes time. Also, you might see somebody that starts and they, off the gate, they explode. But maybe it's because of all the dues they've been paying before they got into that industry. Maybe they come from insurance. They've been to a lot of trainings. They've got credibility. They've got posture. They've got confidence. They've got more skills, a better network, whatever the case is. So I tell people, don't compare yourself to somebody else, somebody that's on their level 10 when you're starting on your level 1. Exactly. So, hey, man, compare yourself to yourself last month. Compare yourself to yourself yesterday, right? And go from there. I remember seeing people We get off, and they're off the blocks fast. And I'm thinking, like when I was 18, this guy's already got a new car. He's got a cell phone. I can't even afford a cell phone, much less a car. He's going to the movies with his girlfriend, blah, blah, blah. And I can't even afford to pay a cell phone bill. I can't afford to take a girl to the movies, right? But I said, somebody told me, if you stick and stay, you'll get your pay. You got to grow as a person. They said, if you could have the things that you want, being the person that you are right now, you would have already had them. So you don't have them because you're not the person that is required to have these things. Right. Then I said, I don't care. This was in 2001 when I got that advice. 50 Cent had just came out with his first CD. It was called Get Rich or Die Trying.
Yep.
And I remember thinking, I'm going to get rich or die trying. You have it?
I have a shirt like that.
Nice.
Get Rich or Die Trying. Yeah, exactly.
By 50, yeah. And that food CD was like, everybody was in the 50 Cent. And I remember thinking, I'm going to get rich or die trying, man. Yep. I don't care how long it takes me. Yep. And at 18, I made a goal to retire my mom before I was 30. By 28, I was able to retire my mom. Till this day, she's retired. That was my big why. Awesome. And I'm sure you've had some big whys in your life.
Well, my mom too. My mom once I bought those properties in 2003. Yeah. She didn't work.
That's awesome.
She didn't work. If anything, I would go over there and give her money. She called it my lucky. ¿Tienes mi lucky? You know, because she used to love going to the casino. But I'm glad I was able to do that because she lived the life the way she wanted to live it. Yes. You know, and she didn't have to worry about finances.
Right.
Because I had already kind of went through that breakthrough. Going back to what you mentioned, there's a quote that I used to have on my email. It says, "Be happy with what you have while you pursue what you want." Okay. And I was happy with what I had.
Yes.
But I was pursuing eventually what I felt was what I wanted. Yeah. The house, the car, whatever it was. Yeah, sure. Vacations or my big brand new RV I bought. Right. That RV was replaced by another little RV I had for 9 years. And I'm like, okay, well, let me leverage this RV and buy a new one. Right. Now I'm doing this for my family. Yes. And I enjoy going out and enjoying the outdoors. Yes. And being with the family, making memories, So it just takes time to get to that point. Yes. You can't expect for stuff to happen overnight. Right. You got to go through growing pains. Yes. And yes, of course, you once a dud, you become a stud, like you mentioned. But in my case, I want to bring love. I want to bring transparency. I want to bring, I want to be able to inject people, especially after what I went through a couple of weeks ago with COVID, pneumonia, and diabetes, and being hauled in a stretcher and having my kids see that.
You almost lost your life.
Yeah, I almost lost my life. So I was in a hospital and I didn't know if I was going to make it, and to have my kids give me my hug right before they put me in the ambulance, I don't know if that was going to be my last goodbye.
Wow. So
that's why now is different, because having all these millions in equity and cars, RVs, that don't matter. Life insurances, all that don't matter when you're gone. You're gone. You don't get to fulfill your purpose. And I feel that God said, hey, you know what? This guy still has work to do. Right. So that's why we're having this meeting now. That's why we're bringing this value to the marketplace, because I got a second chance. And do I have more conviction? Yes. Am I more passionate? Yes. Am I looking forward to a better health? Of course, I'm working out. Ever since the COVID, I'm 18 days straight working out twice, one at 4:30, another one at 8:30, 2-3 miles. So I'm doing this early in the morning so I can build enough energy and feel really good about myself, and go out there and really expand and help people. That's the key, because there's a lot of people that are in the run. I mean, I can take time off, like, to regroup and redeem my health, which is really, really well. And a lot of people that don't have the finances, they don't have, they're not in that position. They have to depend on the government, Right. And I want to bring that financial literacy to people, the importance of saving money and having reserves, because you never know when a rainy day is going to hit, especially that one. Right. So it was definitely a rude awakening for me.
So tell me about, no, I get it. And I'm sure that when you go through what you went through recently, as a matter of fact, it puts things into perspective, man, for sure. And I even noticed something different in you and stuff. And it's true. Listen, somebody like you've sacrificed for a long time. You've got a lot of beautiful things. And so, but it's important to stop and smell the roses. You know, I was mentioning about my wife is the only woman I've ever lived with. I never lived with a woman before her. I met her long time ago, but we started dating when I was 30. And before that, though, I only had girlfriends. I didn't even like girlfriends staying over. It was like, because I worked like 7 hours a day. Because I remember one time I gave this girlfriend of mine a gift for her birthday, bro. There's things in life that motivate us, that impact us. Yeah. This impacted me. I borrowed money from a friend. As a matter of fact, Tapatillo, you know.
Okay, yeah.
And I buy her a clutch, a Coach brand clutch. You know, the little purse that goes inside the purse. Yeah. I don't know any better. I just buy her the clutch, not knowing that the clutch should match the purse that it goes in. I bought it at Macy's in the city of Downey for like $159 approximately, right around there. And I gave it to her. Then I realized she never used it. Then one day in a fight, she tells me, yeah, you gave me that clutch. I can't even use that clutch. I don't have a purse to match it that goes in it. And I'm thinking, because I not knowing any better,
yeah,
can't you just use any purse and use that in there? And apparently what she was saying is you got to have the same brand. Yeah. So I remember that right there, it hurt me. But I said, shit, watch. This is one of the reasons why I'm never going to be broke. Yeah. One day, she's going to rule the day. I said, she'll rule the day. And she said that to me. So that was one of those things for me. Of course, there's a lot deeper things. There's a lot deeper things than that, right? That's just a story. That's one of the many stories that put a chip on my shoulder, and it made me work my ass off. I work 7 days a week, bro. I'm not saying, guys, that I'm recommending you work 7 days a week, right? So from time to time, I think it's necessary, but I do believe, like God worked for 6 days, built the world, and took the seventh day off, right? I believe you need a day of rest. But the point is, I would work my butt off over and over, and I'd work 10, 12 hours a day. I wouldn't even feel it, right? When I got married and we had kids, now, you know, we have 2 sons, Maximus and Alexander. I now delegate, though. I've got 2 personal assistants, right? I've got a few employees, and so they do a lot of stuff that I don't need to do. So I don't work as much as before, but I'm more productive than before. You know what I mean?
When it comes to business, I think you have to understand that you don't want to be the jack of all trades and a master of none. Okay, what you want to do is you want to work on your business. Set yourself apart, because if you work in your business, how is that going to free you up? Right. Okay, I've worked on in my business for a lot of years. We're talking maybe possibly 2 decades. Wow. Just recently, and that's with employees, guys. I mean, I've always leveraged, I've always focused on the production side of it, and this is multiple 7 figures, okay, for the last 8 years. So now I reached the point where, like, dude, I'm really leveraging. I'm not working in my business. I'm going to hire somebody that can be me. Yes. And I'm not just going to hire anybody that I don't feel has the capacity of meeting my clients. Right. You know, so I just recently hired a good loan officer that has a lot of experience. She's a wonderful person, and she's managing over 25 transactions that would have taken a lot of time for me. Yes. I probably wouldn't have had time to sit down with you guys or to our fans here to express the importance of working on your business, because you have to be able to build yourself from within. Okay, and that's my biggest goal, especially after what I went through. You gotta, because within expresses everything that's outwards, outer, right? Yes. So I don't want to be 250 pounds and my suit not fitting me. Right. But here I am trying to teach you how to be successful. There has to be some kind of balance.
Yeah, it's true.
You know, you work out, you hit the bag. Yeah. All right, well, hit the ground, do some body weight. Right. You know, pump yourself up. You got to work yourself inside, because I think that's even going to bring even bigger success for you. Yes. And you become a much bolder person, and you build more character. You know, I believe so. So that's kind of where I'm at right now, just working on the inner part. I've bought a few books I'm reading, and I'm just enjoying it right now.
Before we finish the podcast, I definitely want to ask you about your recent business venture, big decision. Okay. eXp Realty.
Yeah. So I've been in the mortgage business for 20 years now, and I had my NMLS license. I had my DRE license. So what I decided to do was leverage my mortgage company with a person that has her NMLS license, her real estate company. That way you can continue building your 7+ figure income business that way. So what I did was I took my real estate license from my correspondent lender, and I said, look, man, I got to move my real estate license into something that I feel is going to be very impactful. Not only for me, but for future agents. And yeah, I recently, in the last couple weeks, joined eXp Realty. They have such a great setup. I don't know if there's another company that has the revenue share, that has the opportunity to bump elbows with great leaders. Some of the people there, you know, they don't have to work no more. They just do Zoom meetings, and they make $250,000 a month just in revenue share up to $1 million. Like this guy Brent's making about $900,000. So, and this is within the last 3 years, because 3 or 4 years ago they only had 6,000 agents.
Right.
All of a sudden they have 73,000 agents. Okay, and guess where this is going to be at in the next 2 to 3 years? 250,000 agents. So it's still in the infancy stages. The stock option's still 20 at 20 something dollars. I'm a trader. Yeah. I know puts, I know calls, I know stock options. I see that if there's future growth and there's 250,000 agents, you don't think that stock option is going to be?
Yeah, that's a great price, man. $20.
Absolutely. So this is something that the company gives you back for the people you bring in. And now I'm aligning myself with big brokers. I'm doing big acquisitions with bringing brokers over and having me mentor some of their agents, bringing them to the higher leadership that has a better hand on the EXP, and just uplifting people. I don't know if there's another company like that.
Yeah, no. At the end of the day, it's leverage, right? You coming from real estate, you having a background in network marketing, which EXP, I don't consider network marketing, but it's similar, very similar. It's got the 7 tiers of pay. At the end of the day, for me, as you know, and as my listeners know, I'm with Power, which is an EXP equivalent of solar. Yeah. To me, at the end of the day, the name of the game is leverage. Mm-hmm. True freedom comes from leverage. Mm-hmm. You know, it's funny that you mentioned EXP a few years ago when that guy started. It has 6,000 people. That's how many people we've got. And my goal in the next 2 years is to have 6,000 people in my organization alone. Right now, it's about just shy of 1,000, right? Awesome. But the key is that leverage income. And you being a broker, for example, if you're a broker, let's say a real estate broker, and you hire Jay, what happens is you're going to make a bigger spread than what you would with EXP. But what people are forgetting, and by the way, I'm not even with EXP. I just love the model. Uh-huh. So what people are forgetting is, yes, you might make a smaller spread on that individual, but that individual has the same opportunity you have. When he was a part of your brokerage, he didn't have the same opportunity that you had. If he referred another agent, that's it. You made more money. He just got a thank you from you and the agent, maybe. Yeah. Now, that dude can go and exponentially build a team, and everybody that they bring on board, that's why they're the fastest growing real estate company in the world. Exactly. And I've owned a real estate company, okay? I've owned a real estate company since 2006, El Camino Realty and Associates. So I've had a real estate company for 14 years. You know, I've had 20-some agents, you know, but it's a mama and papa. It's a traditional, here, let me put you at a high split because otherwise you're going to try to shop me around and you're going to go elsewhere. Yeah. Look, all that is... It doesn't matter anymore. Whether now it's all about what EXP brings to the table, the fact that you can build a team. If you don't want to build a team, all right, we'll produce. Yep. We'll produce and continue getting paid. Yep. You know, and then accumulate a certain amount of stock options or close enough deals so that you can be at 100%. Your choice is yours. It's not like you don't have a choice. Right. But if you want to sit back and say, no, you know what, I'm going to go back to a traditional broker that's going to pay me a high split, well, we'll see where you're at in 3 years. You're going to be in the same rat race. Right. You know, if you're not if you don't become a good investor, or you learn how to flip homes, or you reinvest your ordinary income that you make from your hustle, if you're not learning on what to do with that money, you're going to eventually spend it. Yep. You know, and you got to put that money to work. Right now, in the last 5 years, my money's worked harder for me, but I still am evolving because I engage in conversation. The community that EXP brings is truly amazing, and it's a great community because you're masterminding, you're brainstorming, you're doing everything remotely, which is awesome because you can work from home and still work on your skills, learn from other people, you know, and eventually all that becomes even higher skill, higher learning for you. You just doll it all up. You doll it up the way you want to doll it up. You know, you already built yourself. All right, let's build it more.
So you catapult, you pivot from that point on.
Yes.
And yeah, I'm looking forward to. I'm recruiting. I'm keeping everybody busy.
That's good, man.
I'm leveraging Rosie's team.
Yeah.
And Lydia. They're just signing up all the people I'm bringing in.
That's awesome.
I look to have maybe 10 direct. Most of these guys been there five years, and they've only had 50 directs. I've had 10 directs in less than 2 weeks. Yeah. And we're talking brokers.
Right.
Very smart, seasoned brokers for the last 20 years. So it's gonna go even beyond what I can expect now, but I know it's gonna be really, really promising.
That's
and
exciting.
then later on, a few years, 5 years from now, I got all my stock options, I got my revenue share. All I gotta do is just enjoy my RV or my Bentley and just be having lunch and just collect. Even more than what I'm already doing now.
At the end of the day, listen, it's business, this world, the business world, the real estate model, the solar model in my case, things are evolving, man. Yeah. And we live in COVID speeded things up from working from home, closing from set. Last year I sold 99 solar projects, right? 91 of them were via Zoom from the comfort of my home, right? I recruit and build a team nationwide from the comfort of my home. And so the people that don't get with the times, man, because listen, I hate to say it, but not only real estate agents, but sales professionals in general, they don't tend to be very smart with their money. There's an old joke about real estate. They say real estate agents don't retire; they just die one day, right? They work till very late, now, even though they made great money. Yeah. Most of them, of course, there's exceptions, right? But most of them, like they could go. Let's say a really good real estate agent that closes a lot of sales, makes great money. But 20, 30 years from now, still didn't do a lot of very smart things with his money. And he's still chasing listings, still chasing commissions, still following up on leads. Like, I plan on making more money this year in my override income than my personal production income from last year. Why? Because of overrides. I tell my team, I'm here for the overrides and the overrides, right? But I'm really here for the overrides and the stock options. Our company also has stock options. So, but yes, at the end of the day, it's leverage, man. So, that's awesome, man.
That's the key, man. Like we did about close to 220 million last year, 2021 in sales. Now I'm not talking about gross close commission. I'm talking about volume. Just remember, we get paid a percentage based on the amount of money that you push through. Okay, and I learned that many years ago because when coming from the insurance, you talk about investments, you talk about retirement plans. Hey, the more 401k plans you roll over, the more you make. The more insurances you do coverage on, the more you make. But those are there's more people trying to buy a $250,000 home a few years back than there are people that have $250,000 in the bank. It's very challenging for anyone to be really successful in the insurance industry unless you build a team. Yes. Because it's all about volume, it's all about, because those insurance policies are less than $100 a month. You get paid 50%. They give you, insurance company gives you 50% up front, the other 50%, and then from there it goes to your hierarchy, and then by the time you get your cut, you're at freaking 28% split. I already know that business. A lot of people that join that business, they don't see it. On real estate, we get overfunded. We pay everything. There's no chargebacks, right. Unless there's a bad loan that doesn't get insured because FHA doesn't like it, so you just switch around, refinance it, put it in another program. So, it's the goal. The goal is to bring more agents, give them the financial literacy, get them exposed to higher learning, the fact that you can invest, and on top of that, you're going to take your business to another level. You're going to go from 1,000 agents to 2,000 agents. Right. You're going to go from, I'm going to go from over $200 million in production to 500 million or even $1 billion. Yep. There's the opportunities there. You just have to build it and go through it. So, I plan on pivoting that. So
smart. Final question for you, brother. Yeah. What is some advice that you would give a struggling entrepreneur or sales professional? Struggling sales pro or entrepreneur?
Find the right mentor. Focus on you. Okay, focus on you building you. Don't quit. And know that if you don't quit, I had one of my mentors back in the 90s. His name is Monty Holm. He's a big guy in the financial industry. Him and Rich Stolley. He got up and he said, "Hey, you see this book? He goes, it was Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill.
Yep.
He goes, this is my Bible. He goes, what I want you guys to do is put your head down for the next 20 years. Okay? Work your asses off. Keep building you. Learn from others. Don't hate others. Learn from others. And then 20 years later, you look back and look what you built.
Right.
That's the best advice I can give you.
Right.
Because you can't change the past, but you can create a future.
That's right. Awesome, man. By the way, Chris, for people that are wondering, they want to connect with you. How can people connect with you on social media or however you'd like?
Okay, I have an Instagram. It's Live to Inspire Christian. I'm actually launching a new coaching program. It's going to teach about finance. It's going to teach about mindset. It's going to teach about how to become an investor. It's going to teach about mortgages, real estate, stock options as far as trading, puts and calls, big difference. So look for me there, Christian De Leon, on Facebook. So, like I said, live to inspire.
Awesome, man. Thank you, bro. My man, I appreciate it, brother. You dropped some incredible knowledge. We had a great conversation here, bro.
Oh, man, I'm honored. Thank you so much.
No, thank you, bro, for inviting us to your home, for giving us some of your time, man. I appreciate you, my friend.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, brother.
Absolutely.
Hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the D&G podcast. Make sure you guys like it, comment it, and share it. And with that being said, I'll see you guys at the top or from the top. Take care.